We're going back to basics because food is expensive, and this is meal prep on a Sunday night. A long time ago, through methods I don't recall, I met a family on the internet and effectively became the person that catered all their meals. At the time, I had one baby, and life was fairly simple. But I was happy to help however I could because mom was a homeschool mom and seemed incredibly overwhelmed. At the time, I had no idea how overwhelming more than one child would be, and I didn't know anything about homeschool. I'd say it worked out for a little bit over a few months, and then they told one of their other friends about me, and that family hired me too. At no part of my life have I ever thought that I was an amazing cook or knew what I was doing. But I can follow a recipe, and as long as there's a little bit of guidance and you allow me to be incredibly creative, it actually works out really well. From those two families, I had a dear friend hire me for a catering job at her office, and that was the first time when I really made money by sharing meals and making food for people. All the meal prepping that I did for those meals for those families and situations were things that I learned and then quickly forgot as soon as I had more children. Now, if you've been following my Back to Basics series or my content creator journey in any capacity, you might have noticed that there's been quite a few changes to my page over the last year. In a lot of ways, I feel like life has been incredibly unkind. And while I accept it for what it is, it's been really hard to make meals for my family the way I've wanted to. Anytime I'm in a room with people who watch my content, I mention how I want to bring the Back to Basics series back. And everybody is happy and loves the stories and talks to me about how much the series means to them. And believe me, I feel the same way. The thought of somebody else using my food in their homes to make meals that I grew up on, or using the ingredients that they have on hand to make things that taste good and feed your family, those things make me happy. They make me proud to be here and to share this part of my life with you. But as much as I want to film and cut and edit and share these stories, it's been incredibly difficult to do during our last season. I think it was sometime back in November that I mentioned that I wanted to bring the series back, and I had this beautiful plan that I would bring it back every single week. Now, I am still working through the Alpha Bakery book, but I find that there's less time during the day to make the meals that I want to make. And I certainly don't want to just do a bunch of repeat footage of spaghetti and meatballs every night, so I took some time away. And if I'm being really honest, that's actually exactly what I needed. Through the ups and downs of what TikTok looks like for you and me, I don't really know what to do with it. But as luck would have it, I will always have to cook. And while a few of these recipes are not really well thought out, and sometimes during a large meal prep, things don't always go according to plan, by me prioritizing and sending my husband and children away to my mother-in-law's house, I had the joy of setting my camera up and cooking for about 4 hours yesterday. Now, I will say, when it came to that tortellini, I probably could have cooked that before I put that in the sauce and thrown that in the freezer, but that's a problem for future Renee. And while this stuffed poblano pepper bake was supposed to be the second time I tried this recipe that I made myself, it certainly felt like a test run and a rough draft by the time it came out of the oven burnt. One of my favorite parts about doing bulk food like this is you get to make as much of one protein and spread it across as many different pans as you can and make meals right now for your future. In the real world, there is no reason for me to cook 2 family packs worth of chicken thighs that are cooked the same way. But I know that I can make flautas, and I can make chicken pot pie, and I can make enchiladas and chicken soup, and I can use all that broth for rice. And I also know that if I really didn't feel like doing anything with this chicken, it's already 100% cooked. And once it's cooled down some, this can be frozen for future meals when I do feel more creative. While some people might think batch cooking is cooking the same meal over and over again, I know that this is more about giving myself some freedom in the future so I can do the things that I want to do and still feed my family the foods that I want to introduce them to, or at the very least, not go through a drive-thru. I'd like to mention I went through a drive-thru earlier today. While meal prep for me has always been just another way for me to get some more time in my life out of the kitchen, this also gives me an opportunity to be as creative as I want to be. When I meal prep like this, sometimes I even set up my recipes because I have to know how to use 10 pounds of ground meat. So in the case where I wanted to try making a dry mixture of cream of anything soup, I finally had a reason to do it. Now, again, you never have to do the things that I do. The things I share during the Back to Basics series are just ideas to get the creativity flowing in your mind and in your life so that you recognize the things that you can do. Because I was never taught how to cook. I was taught how to make tortillas. I saw my grandmother make lomo, and I saw her make beans and rice. I saw her add oil to chorizo and egg when there's plenty of oil already, and I saw her use cilantro, onion, and tomatoes in pretty much everything. I remember eating a lot of chicken breast with my mom, which I'm sad I don't know how to make quite like she does. But I also remember the pains of eating fideo, and that is not something that I want to make. So, well, even though I started to experiment in high school with baking and cooking, it really wasn't until I was into the throes of motherhood that I had time to allow myself to be creative. And then Pinterest came along, and this is one of those recipes. But in any event, I learned how to do these things. And that's the point. If I can put this monstrosity together on screen and showcase it for you, knowing that this is not the exact way to make enchiladas, then there should be no shame in the fact that you might do the same. Just because your friends or family, or even the internet, say you have to do something a certain way, I promise you, you really don't. And as much as this might be sacrilege, we're just going to say that these are Tex-Mex Enchiladas. And there's really no reason to go out to eat when you can make delicious food at home for yourself. Now, don't get me wrong, there's always room for a drive-thru. And I realize I'm doing things out of a can, and I'm using cheddar cheese and flour tortillas, but eating a good meal doesn't have to be what you thought it was. It can be something entirely new that one of your buddies showed you, and you've been hooked on ever since. So while the price of eggs are coming down, and we use far more processed foods than we mean to, I hope I've been able to take you on a food journey that makes you curious about what you can make in your home and encourages you to eat foods that you otherwise wouldn't be trying. I hope that this series brings you hope in the kitchen if you're not an avid cook, and I hope it allows you to give yourself grace and be as creative as you possibly can with the food and items and ingredients that you have on hand. Every time I wrap one of these videos up, I say, I hope you're well fed. And I always mean it, because at the end of the day, that's the most we can hope for. And remember, we don't have to break the bank to do things like this. All we need is a little bit of a plan and some seasoning, and in this case of a meal prep for over a week, quite a bit of time. Remember, this is not supposed to be rocket science, and you will have a ridiculous amount of dishes, which will warrant a trip through the drive-thru. And in any event, I hope you're well fed. So go grab a pen and paper, and let's get ready to go to the grocery store. We have meals to make.